listening to the Bourbon Nerds podcast, Bourbon Nerd Spotlight, featuring Jason Harry, Education Director at none other than the Still Austin. I'm Cody.
I'm Garrett.
And we are the Bourbon Nerds. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode. Actually, we have been waiting patiently to get down to Still Austin. Austin's one of my favorite places. If you've never been, I think I've outgrown 6th Street a little bit, but other than that, there's some really good bars. Obviously, Still Austin is a Texas distillery that's making some, and we have none other than Jason. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you guys so much for having me. Excited to talk to y'all.
Oh, no, man. You've been great. You and Christian, just, communication back and forth, eagerness to allow us to interview. We couldn't be more blessed and have this opportunity. So I know we've got some bottles in front of us. But before we dive into some delicious whiskey you guys are making, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Still Austin.
Once again, I'm Jason Harry. Thanks for having me, everyone. At Still Austin, I am the education director. Basically, I handle a lot of the training materials. I write a lot of, the technical copy, making sure that mash bills will go from our production team all the way to our marketing team and to our sales team all the way correctly. I handle a lot of our sensory and doing a lot of the tastings alongside Nancy and John, Nancy Fraley and John Chappelle, our master blender and master distiller here. By the way, congratulations, John. He just earned the title Master Distiller. We're very, very proud of him.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's a great place to be, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So then let's see, and basically, it's just learning and spreading that knowledge, throughout the team so that we can all speak in, one voice and speak confidently about the product and the stuff that we do.
Yeah, which, I obviously this is not whiskey, but, I work for a company. I mean, having one voice, being aligned with the vision of your organization, can't speak enough of how important that is. So I really respect that. I mean, you're kind of got to be the voice of reason and the leader to make sure everyone stays in line, because everybody kind of always has their own hidden agenda, whether it's good or bad or whatever, indifferent. But, you got to be aligned. What is your goal? What is your purpose? If you were going to define Still Austin's goal and just simplify maybe your mission statement, what would it be?
Oh, that's simple. I'm going to give you two answers. There's the answer that we talk about all the time, just here, like when we talk about what do we want to do, it's make cool shit. Like, I hope I'm allowed to say that.
That's fine.
Perfect. That's what we want to do. Like at every respect, we don't just want to make cool whiskey. We want to make cool labels. We want to make cool artwork. We want to have cool shows, cool events. But to do that, I think that goes back to what our founder and CEO and president Chris Seals wanted to do. Is he wanted to make a whiskey brand where the stuff that was in the bottle was unapologetically Texas. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to do it by doing everything 100% in Texas. So we really want to be that, like that spirit of Central Texas, if you will, like pun intended, but
America.
Yeah. And I think this whiskey brand, I think everything just really exemplifies Austin, because keep Austin weird, and it's all colorful. It's all artsy. It's
inclusive.
Yeah. I mean,
like everything.
There's all kinds of really cool things about Austin. And this brand is just really we're in the room with all the different labels, and it's just like just going into an art exhibit, because you can just tell people put so much time and effort into creating all this great stuff. So
yeah, I think also too, just want to highlight, like, I haven't had a bad bottle, like, and we can say it not just because we're sitting in front of Jason, but we've been trying much more of the Still Austin products. Unfortunately, didn't get a Tanger bottle, but hey, eventually I'll try it. But, I was talking to him before we started the podcast. The Red Corn last year was in my top 5. I fell in love with that bottle. At that point, I fell in love with Still Austin. So, again, we're going to fanboy nerd out a little bit today, but you guys are making a consistent product, and I think that's really important. You're not just throwing shit on the wall, pardon my French, and hoping it sticks. You're actually making something that you can stand behind on top of your awesome labels, which are just phenomenal. So.
Real quick, so how long have you worked for Still Austin, and kind of where did you start?
I started working with Still Austin in kind of a smaller capacity in 2018 as a brand ambassador. At the time, I was still working primarily in wine and restaurants and hospitality. I met Chris Seals at the time. This was right before they produced the first whiskey, not the musician straight bourbon, just what we called at the time Texas bourbon. And the gin had just debuted, and I fell in love with it. I typically am not a gin guy.
Okay.
So I was just like, okay.
Gin can be a little rough for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I was like, all right, so you guys are 100% Texas. This was like, the gin's got a fun story. It was literally a couple of distillers here. We're messing around with a rye whiskey mash bill and, just kind of threw a bunch of botanicals in it, ran it through the pot still, without telling anybody, and created the gin with that rye whiskey new make. But it was not one of those like premeditated, well, we're going to need to make gin before we make whiskey. No, it was an accident. It was very much, there were some people that were just messing around in the back there.
Hey, sometimes that comes out with the best creations.
Yeah. It's a lie.
By the way, I love your rye. Like the rye whiskey is fantastic here.
I agree.
It's one of my favorites for sure.
Can we document that? Garrett saying he loves ryes
I've definitely become more of a rye guy lately.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just, and y'all's is so full of flavor, and I'm just, I haven't got to try the bottle to bond, so I'm really excited to get to that one.
Over here.
Oh, yeah, we've got a couple special ryes out here.
I see the Nancy's pick, which I know a lot of people go really nuts, which, she's, world famous in the whiskey scene. I don't think you drink bourbon or kind of become like a bourbon nerd, without hearing the name Nancy.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And she makes great whiskey. So
absolutely.
She's done it at multiple places. So yeah, cool. All right. Well, do you want to start with the bourbon? Is that you said the musician? Is that the one
I think we should start with the musician. Cool. That's probably the logical first start.
I'll let you pour. Yeah.
Cody might get a little heavy-handed.
Yeah, we got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bottles sitting in front of us. So
I'm gonna try to stick to strict quarter ounces for you fellas.
That's fine, no worries.
Okay, that's perfectly fine with us.
All right, we're gonna try the bourbon. I think I saw this at Total Wine it runs around $36, $38, $40 around there.
You can find it anywhere between, like the mid to high 30s to the like mid 40s. I think MSRP on this is going to be 45. Though.
Okay, 40, 45.
But you can find it for less. You can find it
depending on
more,
where, your location, all that. It's a 98.4 proof.
Yep.
What age is this around?
So you're looking at the musician bourbon here is going to be around 3 years of age. We don't want anything younger than right now is 2 years, 11 months going into the product, and it can creep up to around like 3.5 years. We want everything that goes into this bottle to be eligible to be bottled and bond is typically the way that we look at it. Yeah. So, before proofing. So typically you're going to get everything in 1 6-month distilling season going into this stuff.
Okay, awesome.
And like when we were talking to Blue, he owns Hochtown Distillery. He said because of how hot it is down in the South, 2 years in Oklahoma or Texas is 4 or 5 almost in Kentucky. So you can age it a lot. It ages a lot quicker down here.
So this is one thing, I don't want to say it's a point of contention, but I love driving it home. It has less to do with how hot it is in Texas and more to do with how quickly and how often it gets very cold. So, for anyone that's not around from Texas, we've got, 9 months of summer, particularly down here in Austin. It's 9 months of humid, sticky, hot, just brutal summer.
Yeah.
And then 3 months of flipping a coin every morning to figure out what the weather's going to be like.
No, that's very true.
You can see temperature fluctuations of, it can be 75 degrees during the day, drop down into, extremes, like down to the teens, with a big cold front. But it's pretty regular to see 75 down into the 30s. Next day, it's in 75 during the day, down in the 30s. That's a 40-degree temperature differential every day for, a month. That's massive. And it's that.
For sure.
So I always like to use, you ever leave a water bottle in the backseat of your car?
Oh, for sure.
And it gets hot, it'll poof up. When it gets cold, it'll shrink in. That's the same thing that's happening inside of those barrels. When it gets warm, expand, contract. I know everyone knows this, but I love driving that home because it's that's that interaction that you're getting. It's not just the heat, that's that interaction that's driving so much of that what we consider aging. Getting that color, that character, that density really, really quick.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, what does your angel share typically look like in your barrels?
So the first year, which is typically where you'll see the highest, we can see anywhere between 15 to 17% loss.
Wow.
But that'll get cut in half, if not more the next year.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, but it's not uncommon for us to pop open, now 6, getting close to 7-year-old barrels, and there's just not a lot in there. There might be enough to do a couple dozen bottles, but you know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
And do you have something that, I don't know, that you guys are kind of tweaking or working with to maybe cut that down, or is it just something that's just going to kind of happen?
Well, for the Angels, sure, there's nothing we can do. The Angels are going to get what the Angels want.
Yeah, for sure.
What we do is we want, sorry, doo-doo. Sorry, that's my 10-year-old coming out there. So what we do try to do is we want to slow down how quickly that it's getting that influence.
Yeah.
So another thing that I always tell people when they're here is, when you're rushing through your morning routine, you might forget your wallet, your phone, or your keys, and that's going to shorten, the trip before you have to head back into the house to get your stuff. Our whiskey down here in Texas, at least for us, that rushing through its routine isn't always great. It's going to forget some important parts of the barrel. Specifically, it's going to forget to oxidize some of the harsh tannins that are in the barrel, and it's going to forget to, break down some of, the wood sugars, the aldehydes that give the whiskey some of its sweeter notes. So we want to give it the tools to do that, and that's where our master blender, Nancy Fraley, comes in. So Nancy, in all of her wisdom and knowledge that she picked up working over in France and Cognac and Armagnac, with her slow water reduction, I think that's going to be the big thing, particularly on what we're drinking right now with the Musician, that kind of sets it apart from, I'm going to say its contemporaries in the market, things similar mash bills from all around the country. So it's a little bit higher proof, but we're also doing the slow water reduction. So after around maybe 2 to 2.5 years in the barrel, the barrels that we select to be the Musician will get pulled aside. They'll go into a special rick house, and we might add just a couple of liters of water to it. We're not trying to proof it down substantially. We might just add maybe 3 to 6 liters, which will give us, maybe 2% alcohol by volume, difference. We'll do that, maybe, 2 to 4% alcohol, depending on, how crazy it is. And then we'll let it age for another, 4, 6, 8 weeks. There are some cases where we'll do slow water reduction and let it sit for months, if not years, after just one dose. Okay. But in the case of Musician, it'll get, that dose every, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. The idea is we're trying to change the way that whiskey's interacting with the barrel over that course of time. Different levels of dilution. It's going to be able to break down more of the tannins that we were just talking about and leach out more of those wood sugars, those aldehydes, and give us some softer, maybe I don't want to say more complex, but more nuanced flavors. Yeah. That it's kind of hard. And, from my experience in tasting a lot of the whiskeys, it's kind of hard to kind of achieve without, years and years kind of doing and working. There are a few of us that I think have kind of really figured it out throughout Texas. I know that's why I highly recommend that anyone out there that's not familiar with Texas whiskey, go try more of it. If you have one idea of it, every one of the distilleries down here tastes different from one another. And I think because all of us are trying, different wild things to contend with this crazy climate. So, but I think this is the thing that sets us apart at least.
No, for sure. I mean, we're drinking this right here. I mean, I don't know. Do you know the mash bill right off the top of your head? I don't.
Absolutely. So it's 70% Texas grown white corn. It's a food grade white corn, non-GMO. Using 25% Brasetto rye. It's a hybrid rye. Okay. It's a little softer, a little sweeter. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Yeah. And then 5% Wildfire English Pale Malt barley.
Nice. So I was wondering, because I'm getting obviously caramel, corn, but I guess it's that rye that kind of has a little zing in the middle.
It's definitely a high rye bourbon at 25% rye to mash.
Yeah. So I think that, but this is, like you said earlier, just well balanced. That to me is what sticks out the most. I don't know about you, Garrett.
For sure. And the 98 proof is really good because I always feel like the 100, when you get the 100 proof, 107, those are really good. So getting to that 98 proof really kind of helps with some flavor. Because I know a lot of basic offerings places will do 90 or, so I think that 98 really helps with a lot of flavor. It's got a lot of flavor for, your basic offerings. So.
Yeah, for sure. Very affordable bottle. Good. I mean, this is, and what I think is good too, is we talk about being from the South or if you're not, but when it's hotter outside, I could see you sipping on this. This isn't going to make me, I
really like the
set
smell.
My mouth on fire. Yeah. And the smell is pretty, I'm not getting a whole lot of different complexities, but it smells nice. I'm getting good caramel sweetness. It's just got a really good little rye, I guess, spice too. I mean, pretty good. I'm enjoying it for sure.
Musician's just kind of a really, really solid bourbon. I always tell people, if you just go on up, let's say you're not into whiskey, you're just kind of getting into it, but you really, your JMOs and Jacks are the only thing you've ever really had, and you kind of want to get into sipping whiskey. This is a great one to kind of start folks on. It's going to have a lot of the things that, you are looking for in Kentucky bourbon, that little bit of that hug, a little bit of warmth in the chest, on the back of the palate, but it's not overbearing. There's a lot of sweetness to this one, lots of caramel, lots of vanilla, lots of pie crust. It's not offensive on the nose, but it is a little bit higher proof. So you're not going to get that ethanol heat coming off the nose, but you will get that nice kind of ethanol density on the palate, that oiliness, which I think is a big thing that kind of when, I first started taking whiskey seriously, that was the kind of thing that kind of struck me. Like, it's like, oh, so more alcohol actually gives you more sweetness, more flavor, more flavor, it's not just, it's not always more heat. And I think that's one of the cool things that the musician kind of exemplifies. So it's a really great one for, as your gateway bourbon, if you will.
Awesome. Well, let's move on to the next. And then while we're doing that, I'm going to ask you some more questions if you want
to. Okay.
So talk to us, Jason, about how did you, because you interested, you piqued my interest because I'm not an expert at wine, but I do like a lot of wine. So how did you really get into bourbon?
So I'm a wine guy by trade. Me and a really close friend of mine, went down the path of studying wine. I spent close to a decade and a half, with wine being my primary focus. Here, I'm actually going to top you off a little more.
Oh, yeah,
just so you can get a little bit better.
Hey, don't throw me with a good time, Jason.
I get like a cherry nose on this, which is really nice.
Hold on.
Smells good. Brown sugar.
You've been on the cherry cake, man. Like I've been on the.
Sorry,
apples.
we didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I apologize about that, Jason.
No, it's fine. No,
and I'm sure actually,
you're nail on the head with the cherry too.
Yeah, I'm sure nosing is very, because I feel like there is a lot of similarities between like wine tasting and bourbon tasting. If you really become like a fan, like you smell, you taste, you use
cherry,
all
like medicinal.
I always make the joke that in wine tasting, you can be a little less polite. It's totally fine to be like, this wine tastes like dirt and like barnyard, and everyone's like, oh yeah, and it's a compliment. That's a good thing.
That's super earthy.
Like if you say that about a whiskey, it's just like, this whiskey tastes like dirt. Someone's going to be like, oh, I'm not ready. So you have to find,
that is true.
You have to get way more creative with whiskey tasting notes than you can with wine. And wine, you can call a spade, and everyone just kind of gets it. With whiskey, you kind of have to get a little creative. I feel
it's like sour grape, blackberry. Okay, you nailed it.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear some people say some weird stuff sometimes, like, oh, this kind of smells like glue, or this smells like a sticker. And I'm like, I don't know what that means.
That person is a wine person. Absolutely.
There's something under that cherry note that's dark. Is it like chocolate or something?
What is this? So this is a cast
absolutely.
Strength?
So for me, everything we got on the first one is just dialed up. So at cast strength, we're now at 116 proof. Same mash bill, 70 white corn, 25 rye, 5 barley. Same age, right around 3 years. The only difference really you're going to see here is that proof, but that proof is going to give you a massive difference on the palate. The nose, the whole experience really. The nose, like you said, you're going to get a little bit more cocoa. You're going to get a lot more darker fruit. Whereas on the musician, it's kind of on the nose, it's bright. You're getting like even almost more floral notes to it. Like I almost get like elderflower, like a baked pear, like the smell of that, kind of like a baked pear tart or something, like on the musician. Whereas this one on the cast strength, now we're moving into like berry crumble, and
I was gonna say like
a cherry tart pie or something.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Like a good cherry pie. Like I don't like. Usually I'm an apple pie guy, but if you make a good cherry or blackberry pie, like oh my, OMG, that's very good.
And then the palate is just a lot of berries up front. Through the mid palate, that's where you start getting the oak, and then on the back, it's just lots of like all the baking spices you could want from the rye or cinnamon, nutmeg, anise, all that fun stuff, interlaced in there with a healthy dose of like dark chocolate. There's some dustiness going on in there. Like I just love this. This is the cast strength bourbon is probably our most popular nationwide, and I can understand why. This is that one for the folks that like those big Kentucky bourbons and all of that kind of stuff. Give this one an objective try, and I think you might find a new attainable favorite.
Yeah, and it's been a minute since I tried this at Total Wine like a couple years ago, and I liked it. But again, it's like you get a sample glass versus drinking. That's what sucks. Like
they put it in like a little plastic cup.
A little plastic cup. You're not gonna be able to really enjoy and understand. So I think that really changes your experience a lot. But this is better than I remember, and it's yummy.
Yeah, the best way to drink anything is sitting around and doing it back to back with other things. Don't enjoy it in a bubble. Don't just go home and go buy a bottle of something fancy, sit down, pour an ounce and a half of it, let it sit, drink that ounce and a half of it, and then walk away and drink a PBR. Like, that's not going to give you an objective, Get
her done.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but try it with a couple things. And that's why I kind of like doing the lineup like this, particularly bourbon, and then going into the ryes, because it really kind of, particularly when we get to the ryes, it'll kind of be fun looking back on the bourbons because you can really see the profile that rye adds to the bourbon. I think the rye is kind of the star of the show, even in the bourbon.
I agree. I'd like to do this against Frey Ranch Uncut because I know you love
There are some very similar.
Very similar. So
have you ever had the Frey Ranch Uncut?
Absolutely.
That bottle is
They
fire.
do wonderful stuff.
But it has a lot of similar because I always get like that tart cherry, and I that's one of my favorite notes, and so I'm really getting that, and so there's a lot of similarities.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say much, but there's a lot more than just that. There's a similarity between us and them. So.
Yeah. Maybe grain to glass. No. Cool. Well, that's pretty good. So, what's your favorite thing? I know you're kind of newer to bourbon, I guess, per se. Like you started with wine. How long were you in the wine scene?
I was in wine for, I guess, probably 2009 is when I started taking it seriously.
Okay.
Maybe earlier. So I've done hospitality my entire life. I worked my first restaurant job when I was 16. I paid my way through school doing all of that. So I love all that.
Yeah.
Like my first wine job was probably like 2008. 2009.
Okay.
A buddy of mine was already in SOM training, and I kind of just jumped on the bandwagon with him. We were working at a really cool little spot that was interested in doing New World wines that kind of mirrored Old World stuff. So lots of like South Africa, Australia, Chile, all that kind of fun stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of got like a crash course in weird with wine pretty early on, and that kind of, that was a lot of fun. And at the time, being working behind bars a lot, I already kind of enjoyed whiskey. I was getting into scotch, cognac, brandy, Armagnac, all that fun stuff. So it just kind of, whiskey and spirits were always kind of like a hobby, like, cocktails and all that, trying to learn that. But, wine was definitely the thing that I was trying to use to advance my career until I met Chris and kind of saw what was happening over here at Still Austin.
Cool. So I always like to ask this question. What's your favorite part about, because the bourbon community, I think, is a little, there's a community in wine. There's a community in like each kind of spirit. They have their own, like tequila's kind of the new kid on the block, I believe. But what do you love about the bourbon community?
There's a lot of things I love about the bourbon community. If I had to single out one thing, though, it's like picking a favorite song. That's true. If I had to single out one thing, I'd say it's kind of like just the general camaraderie. Like I do a lot of traveling for the company, going out and talking both to, liquor distributors, bar owners, liquor store owners, and just kind of seeing how it's one giant, like national family, basically. Everybody knows each other.
Sure.
Everybody hangs out. Everyone's like, how's the kids? How's the dog?
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't see a person for a year and a half. Everyone's running around the country, and then you meet up at, Louisiana Bourbon Festival, and it's just like, hey, how you been? It's that. It feels very much kind of like that,
family, away from your family, right?
It's even stronger than that almost. It's crazy, because we're all in this really weird topsy turvy world that is the spirits industry. The distilling industry specifically is kind of just a weird one. So it's kind of cool just meeting these people, and that's it. It's that sense of camaraderie and togetherness and family. Yeah.
Awesome. I could kind of, you said it perfectly.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about the beginnings of Still Austin in general and how this whole distillery kind of started and, how we got to where we are today. So how did Still Austin begin?
It started with Christopher Seals and his father, Cleveland. Long story short there is that they found themselves wandering through like Scotland and all of that stuff, and Cleveland, who's Christopher's father, really kind of fell in love with the idea of, he's like, this is cool, this is beautiful, I've been kind of, bored in retirement, and, I'd love to be able to do something like this. This would be fun. And, Chris, whose background is in risk assessment for like hedge funds and financial stuff, was like, this would be a great way, to, do something fun with my dad, do something impactful. But I don't know if, this is the thing to do. But as they kind of went through the motions and figured out, like how feasible is making this distillery, they not only figured out it's really feasible, but if you kind of do it the right way, it's not only feasible, but we might be able to kind of start something almost, I don't want to say cultural, but start something, like build an institution here, So it started off with trying to be able to source 100% Texas. That was kind of the big thing. Like I said, kind of at the beginning, so we started working with Justin Crownover, who runs Lone Star Family Farm up near Sunray, Texas. We started working with Chase Leftwich and Austin Shoemaker up in Fort Worth, Texas, who run Tex Malt, which I think now is, correct me if I'm wrong, or if I'm, the great editor, please correct me if this is incorrect, but I think they're now the largest independently owned malting floor in the state of Texas. And with their help, we've been able to kind of create basically an all-in-one supply chain to kind of make the products that we have here, like as far as the juice going into the bottle, which it's enabled us to do some really, really fun things. I really feel that at the time when we were doing this, it wasn't common for a Texas whiskey to be 100% made in Texas. Like that was kind of a lofty goal for, some people, but I think everyone was really just trying to make the best whiskey they had without throwing a hurdle like that in front of them. That was something that Chris really, really wanted to conquer. And it's one of the things that I think that is kind of like allowed us to grow and blossom that the way we've been able to do, and kind of set some trends in that way too. It's really kind of, from some, if anyone is into logistics, you would understand, into farming and agriculture, you understand that just setting out to do that, and I guess it would have been 2013, 14 when they were first conceptualizing this. That was crazy talk.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Like, you crazy.
So to be able to lay that plan out and execute it, and make the relationships we have, like I was saying, Justin, Chase, and Austin, Tex Malt, Lone Star, it's been really, really, really wonderful to kind of see that really kind of cool plan about building this, like Texas whiskey economy, and like seeing it come to fruition and see where we are now.
Yeah. That's great.
But that's got to be awesome to kind of just grow up with, because you said you started here in about 2018.
So 2017 is when we opened our doors. It was September 2017. So we'll have our 8th anniversary of operation actually this September.
Nice.
But it had gone into conception much earlier than that. Here in Austin, we had to have, laws needed to change. There was a lot to go on. We had to find the space that we're in. We had to be able to, find a still. The side, like, we've got a big 42-foot tall custom design column still over there. And that's not a still that was meant to be in the middle of Central Texas. That design was meant to be like down in the Caribbean making high ester rum, which is that's another story in itself. We can get into that too if you want to.
Yeah, but I think I'd love to hear that story.
It's a short story. So. There are a couple. I've mentioned a couple of people: Chris Seals, our CEO; Nancy Fraley, our master blender; John Chappelle, our master distiller. There was another name in there. His name is Mike Delavante, and former production manager at Ray and Nephew. Really, really wonderful guy, visionary production guy, and we were lucky enough to be able to get a still designed by him. Mm-hmm. So it was built in Scotland, and to my understanding, actually from the manual, it was really designed to be doing rum primarily.
Okay.
So we're using this kind of really, really cool still to make this really, really interesting spirit, which I think is kind of the coolest thing behind it.
Yeah.
I would love to kind of talk more about it, but it would sound really crazy without like visual stuff.
Next time we'll come back, we'll have video cast and everything.
If we can do a video, that would be great. Yeah. Or maybe we can send you some illustrations. but it's really kind of cool. It operates in a very different way from a traditional column still, which allows us to do some really, really cool stuff with it.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. That is pretty different for sure.
Well, from traditional whiskey column still, I should say. If you're into rum, it operates the same way with a couple small differences.
And this little area is kind of really cool. It's almost like it's just like a big food truck area, and then there's got the beer companies, and you got you guys. It's like all just a huge community. It's really, really cool, and like a lot of really good food and stuff around here too. So this is a really cool little area.
Yeah. For anyone looking out for this area, it's called the Yard. We've got all kinds of cool neighbors. There's you can probably get an Airbnb at the nice little apartments next to us. So you could come here and waste an entire weekend stopping by multiple breweries in the parking lot. Austin Wineries here. A couple, probably like 5 or 6 food trucks in the immediate area. Great little coffee roaster. You can grab your coffee in the morning. So there's a lot of fun stuff to do.
Yeah, that chicken sandwich we had at the end by St. Elmo Bar was fire.
Yeah, it was really good. I don't remember what that place is called.
I'm not sure. I'd have to
Spicy Boys?
Yeah, Spicy Boys. Yeah. Those tater tots were spicy.
Shout out Spicy Boys.
Yeah, not a sponsor, but a damn good chicken sandwich. Yep. Awesome. So I'm sure you've heard all the recent noise in bourbon, like the bourbon boom's busted, like it's declining, is bourbon dead, kind of that. And, Still Austin's been able to, looks like you guys are doing really well. Your business is growing. You guys are coming out with crazy bottles that are awesome. Limited releases are selling out. Like that rye you guys just came out with, I was like 30 seconds too late. So what's your thoughts on the current state of the bourbon market?
That's a difficult question to answer because I can really only speak from like where we sit in the bourbon market. Like I don't know what's going on in, other parts of the country with, like we are still pretty much a small company. We have a big production for a small company, but our production is dwarfed by many, many other people. We are not even the biggest production in Texas. Yeah. So it's hard for me to like give a great answer on that. So there's my first disclaimer.
Okay, that's fine.
For us, we've been really, really, really fortunate. We've been able to do a lot of really hard work over the last probably like 2 years, getting some really cool products on the market. Our marketing team has done really, really good at running some really, really cool promotions, which have able to kind of like expand our visibility into areas that prior I don't think people were really paying attention to, despite having our product available in their area. So I think that we're just kind of right now we kind of have lightning in a bottle, and we're just trying to hope that we can continue to up that quality. That's one of the things that I've been saying a lot recently is that consistency is a big thing for us. We want people to, know that when they go get a bottle of Still Austin, know what they're getting. We want to be just as consistent as, the big guys, from, that part of the country. But we also want to make sure that we are consistently getting better. We don't want it to be like, oh, well, I had the cast strength, last year. I've had it. It's like, well, you haven't had the latest coops of the cast strength. It's aging out. We're doing different things. We're honing our craft here at Still Austin. That I mentioned once again, we only opened our doors in 2017. So
yeah, no, that's crazy to me.
We really do feel like we're just getting better at this, and we're just kind of hitting our stride. And so we're really, really kind of excited for the people that have kind of latched on and have helped us kind of get to grow to this point to kind of see where we're going. And we're hoping that kind of just stays that way. We're hoping we can consistently keep showing people, why we are who we are, and, hopefully they continue to enjoy it.
No, and I think we can see that in your whiskey. I mean, I think it is getting better. I mean, like, Still Austin, you said 2017, but like I didn't try it till 2020, I think was the first time I tried the Still Austin product.
Well, we've never sourced anything. So like there was never like we're opening our doors and, selling Indiana bourbon for a while. Like, so when we first opened, we were selling whiskey off the still, basically.
It's a month old.
Oh no, we didn't even age it. Like it was like off the still, literally off the still. Like, we had our gin came out right before our first whiskey. We had our just Texas whiskey that was kind of like our entrance into the Texas market. And then the Musician that we tried first, that was kind of our first, our first straight whiskey. It was our first, like nationally, I think recognized product. And that was only 2020, so it's in 2020, I guess that would have been 2021. We had the cast strength, which is what we're just trying. 2022 is when we had the Artist Rye, which is what we're about to try next, followed up immediately by the cast strength rye. And then more recently, we started doing the bottled and bond. We've got our straight bourbon, which comes out in the summer, the rye, which is out right now for the spring. And then, of course, the infamous red corn and blue corn bourbons, too. So
I can't wait again for the next batch of those. So
I think we're just kind of now seeing what the full lineup looks like.
All right. You want to move over to the straight rye whiskey called the Artist?
Absolutely. This is one of my personal favorites.
Sweet.
Who comes up with the names of these?
Yeah, it's curious.
This is a collaborative effort between our design team, our founder, and then, of course, Mark Burkhart, the artist behind all of these labels.
And he does all your artwork?
He does all of the core labels.
Okay.
So all the stuff that we're looking at on the table today. So that's the Musician, the Artist, so that's the bourbon and the rye, the cast strength bourbon and rye, the entire bottled and bond lineup, and the Tanager are all Mark Burkhart.
Oh yeah, the Tanager. I think that's one of the most beautiful bottles ever designed. I watched that video, the artwork, and how you come up with the designs. I was like, man, this bottle's so awesome.
Yeah, Mark is something really, really special. We're actually working on a couple new labels with him, so keep your eyes out for that.
Awesome. Well, is there any new releases that you are able to speak about without spilling the beans, maybe, that people should be excited about?
No.
Thank you for your honesty.
So what I can say is this: we've got the red corn and blue corn coming up. This is from the same stock. So for those of you who enjoyed red corn and blue corn at 5 years of age, you're really going to enjoy them at 6 years of age.
Yeah,
I can only imagine.
Sign me up.
We've got the Tanninger coming back out this year, so that's the cigar blend. We were excited to see how much everyone enjoyed it last year. This year, I think people are going to be blown away. Now we really kind of have our hands on it, and I think we know what we're going to. I think we know the direction we're going to go with.
Yeah.
It. So I always kind of joke when everyone was trying it last year, and Nancy was even saying, she's like, "Oh, we're just getting started. Like this was to make sure we could do it. Now that we know we can do it, now we're going to perfect this thing, and it's going to be really really cool seeing how it evolves over time. And that's all I can say about it right now.
That's exciting enough. I mean, we do some review videos. So if you guys want some people to try out the Tanninger, let us know, man. We'll sign. I'll buy a bottle, whatever else. Sign me up for that, man. That's exciting that you guys are going to redo that again. I thought that was just a one-time release. So
that'll be coming out every year. You can look forward to the Tanninger cigar blend, hopefully forever at the end of each year.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. Like I said, I never really saw it. So is that one mostly a distillery only, or
no? So that one does go out. You can buy that at your local store. So we are we're sold what we call our nationally available in a handful of states. Yeah. So I would say you should be able to find it if you're in Texas, Louisiana, Colorado, or Indiana, Illinois. Sorry. Then we are also exclusive to Total Wine in a bunch of other states. Those states can also get it. So your best bet is to go onto our website. We have is it available in your area? You can type in your zip code, and that'll tell you what's available in your area and when you will be able to get it.
Okay, sweet.
Maybe not the when part because those dates kind of move around, but if you're able to get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say, though, that Tanninger, anywhere we are sold, it is available. It's also the most limited release that goes into distribution that way. So last year, there were only about 6,000 bottles of Tanninger nationwide. Okay. Yeah. So that's why, unfortunately, we're hoping that we can make more, but that is a really, really labor-intensive process that takes a lot of whiskey. Everyone loves the red corn and blue corn. Those are ingredients in the Tanninger. So, if you want more Tanninger, that means we get less red corn and blue corn, so on and so forth. So we're trying to make sure that we can get as much of this product out there as possible. But once again, we are still a pretty small operation.
Do you guys have any future expansion plans or anything? Are you guys comfortable where you're at right now? I'm just curious.
We hope to expand in the very near future. We're looking at kind of doing some really fun stuff here with expanding our tasting room experience and all of that. So hopefully that will also lead into a production expansion within the next few years.
Okay, awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited because I actually thought you guys had been open longer than 8 years because I just feel like you guys are just kind of, to me, like kind of taking off from the other, there's a lot of really great whiskeys in Texas, but I feel like you guys do so many more. You guys are doing so many cool things. I felt like you guys were open a little longer than them, but I don't know. Maybe it's just,
which is a compliment. I mean, it's a good thing.
You just have a lot.
A lot of bottles. You have quality of whiskey's great. The artwork. I mean, I don't know if I'm just exposed more to your marketing or whatever, but yeah, it just feels like you guys are out there more.
I think that has to do with everybody. I think it's a collaborative effort. I mean, our marketing team is fantastic. These guys really think outside of the box and try to do some fun things that, a lot of whiskey brands, I don't know if they would, it's just kind of, we do some weird stuff, we had like our Kentucky fill up thing. We have, the one-off labels for all of our distillery products. That's, believe it or not, that's a whole undertaking doing one-off labels for everything.
There's a lot goes behind getting a label.
Which I want to point out, all of these are local artists too. So we actually have to find local artists to do some of these things. And some of these are wild. So before we started recording, we were talking about how some of these are hand-painted. This one up here that looks like a patch, that was actually done here at a little Western beer company called Fort Lonesome. And it didn't look like a patch. They actually hand-stitched hundreds of these little patches that were adhered to the bottle. That's so when you finish taking off your bottle, you could take off this hand-stitched patch and do it to clothing. So we do some really weird things here, which
and that could be what kind of puts you guys out.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. And then of course, it's not just that we're doing weird things, but John, Nancy, our distilling crew, they back it up with what they're putting in the bottle. They really, really care about this process. Like we talked about that slow water reduction. That means that everything that we're tasting here, because all this sees that slow water reduction at some extent, maybe if it's even a very small amount, like everything gets touched. And we've tasted every single barrel. So for the 40 barrels that go into this artist rye whiskey that we're tasting right now, every one of them was tasted and approved by a human before going in there. It's not just kind of like pulling it out of a rick house and hoping because of its placement that it's going to be the way that it's supposed to be.
And it's great. I love this rye so much. It's
fantastic.
Full flavor.
Did we talk about it at all?
No, let's talk about it because it's outstanding. Well, it's delicious. It's very good. It's well-rounded. It's balanced. I mean, the rye punches you in the mouth in a great way, but it doesn't hurt you. It's like, oh, hey, I'm going to punch you, but you're going to enjoy it. I don't know. It's the weirdest way to describe it.
We don't condone punching.
Yeah, no violence on this podcast.
So for any wine people out there, this actually for me has a nose very reminiscent of an old Sauterne. It's got some of the grassiness and stuff that you would expect from a rye whiskey, but it's also got this like ripe melon, pineapple, fresh apricot. It's just like very, very stone fruit forward too. Very, very tropical with some kind of nice floral notes kind of popping out to me. Like maybe like honeysuckle and like orange blossom.
I get honey. I get like a honey rye spice. I guess I can kind of see the pineapple. I get a little like it is tropical, so it's hard for me to pinpoint on one specific one. But yeah, I mean, you definitely described it better than I did.
Very fruity rye.
Fruity rye,
but it's very tasty.
But it's not like the fruit is like it pops and then it goes away. Like so, it's subtle. So that's what I love. It doesn't overtake the rye. Like the rye is still there. It's still it's very good.
See, and I was just talking about the nose.
Yeah. You're talking about the nose. Sorry, I'm talking about the whole experience.
No, you're right though. Like I feel like it's rounded out too. Like, but I feel like to your credit, like I think you're right. Like the palate, I feel like rounds out that bright nose with lots of like dark caramel. You're getting a little bit more of like that candied apricot. You're getting some almost nutty notes too. Like for me, it's almost like cashew. I'm getting a little bit of orange blossom, a little bit of like bergamot. I get lots of tea on this too. This is definitely kind of like almost like green tea with honey, kind of on the back of the palate. That really, really soft tannin. I'm
glad you said that because I could not. Because I love the tea note, like Eagle Rare, get the tea note. I'm a fan of that note. I couldn't quite describe it. I think that's absolutely the perfect way to describe it. Green tea with honey. I drink green tea with honey, so I could not pinpoint that though what that was. And I'm glad because I hate it bugs the hell out of me when I can't figure out what is that that note. So yeah, this rye is awesome. I mean, what is this MSRP around the same 45?
Yep. Yeah. It should be wherever you buy it. It should be the same price as the bourbon.
Perfect. Right. So if you find it cheaper than that, pick this bottle. If you like rye and you don't have this bottle, go out and buy it and thank us later because it is yummy. Even if you're just a bourbon drinker, I think this is a very easy sipper for bourbon because I know some don't enjoy rye as much, but I think being a bourbon drinker, it's really a fruitier rye. Also. I'm not getting the crazy super baking spice, pepper notes, any of that stuff, or some spearmint stuff. None of us said dill. None of us said spearmint. Yeah. There's a little eucalyptus in there, kind of like mingled around, but it's not a notable note. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is definitely the softer, sweeter, more floral. I think this is definitely on the floral side of things, not the spicy side of things. And what's the mash bill on the rye? That's the fun part. It's just 100% unmalted rye. Wow. We just throw it. Oh yeah. We just throw a bunch of rye in there and let it rip. But once again, it's that Prosecco rye. So yes, it is a challenge. Well, luckily now that we've kind of got it down to a science, we're pretty good at it. But just throwing a bunch of unmalted rye into a cooker and then that, you're asking for trouble. Rye does not like any of this. That's why typically it's used for like a flavoring grain in bourbon, and even if you're going to make a rye whiskey, that's why the barely legal style of rye is so popular. You know, even like your Indiana style is that 95.5. You're going to have that 5 malt. Even sometimes it's malted rye, but that little bit of malt to help the fermentation stage. We kind of don't do that, but I think for our trouble, as using that hybrid rye, it allows us to achieve some of those softer, sweeter, fruitier flavors. And then once again, Nancy's slow water reduction kind of allows you to get that really kind of soft, honeyed, kind of vanilla edge softness to it. So you'd never really get into that super
pungent rye kind of territory, at least on that one. And that's 99.6 proof. So
that's
that's
just
almost
where
right there at 100 proof too.
And that's just where the genius comes in of, being able to do all those different things to create it. And, because that's just wild to me that it's just 100% rye.
Yeah, that blows my mind too.
But that just shows the genius of Nancy and all, and what she can do.
Team collaboration,
I think it has to be
distilling.
collaboration.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. That's very good. Thank you for letting us try that.
You want to try it at cast strength now?
Yeah, sign me up. Sign me up for that. We do like us some proof, and I think there's a really good like standard offering. It comes in right under 100 proof, so I think that's a really good. I was curious. This is a question we usually ask people that we interview, but I'm sure you've got some phenomenal recommendations. Can you give us any food pairings you'd recommend with your bourbons that you would recommend to our audience? Anything that's kind of like maybe out of the ordinary or something that you've kind of stumbled across that just goes so well with your guys' whiskey?
With the rye that we're drinking that we just had, the Artist, I think that's probably one of the most food-friendly whiskeys that I've ever had. If you want to talk about weird, that and a Chicago-style hot dog works. Like neat on the rocks as a soda highball. Just, I don't know what it is. The dill pickle, the sport peppers, the mustard, the fresh onions. I don't know what it is. It just works.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked for weird. That's my weird
cool.
one.
That doesn't seem weird. I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
For a little more traditional stuff, this is the one we're drinking now, the cast strength version. This was made to be poured over vanilla ice cream. This is great for your like Irish coffee style stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'm really into cooking with spirits, and I know it's like sacrilege to take like your really nice cast strength whiskey and cook it into a pan. But you take this and you reduce it into basically like a whiskey sauce, add just a little bit of butter. It is wonderful over basically anything you put it on.
Okay.
If you want to get really weird, throw in a little bit of your favorite, spice. I like to do a little bit of cayenne, ancho, and like habanero powder.
Okay.
And then use that to marinate your chicken.
Oh,
yes.
I can see that. That sounds good. I'll have to try that.
Mix that about 1 part or 2 parts buttermilk, 1 part that.
Okay.
And it will tenderize it and make it
yummy.
But you definitely want to cook out the alcohol so you don't get your chicken all weird.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that sounds amazing. That's really good. That's it's one of the better food pairing segments that we've had there.
No, I agree. Yeah,
because usually they'll say bourbon with steak, which is great, fantastic.
Yeah.
But getting into it, actually cooking, and that's some really good ideas for sure.
I agree. And giving respect to the wine community, because like a lot of people I know that, because I have a guy that work with our VP of sales. He's becoming a sommelier. So like they always have good food pairings with wine. It's like, I don't know, it's ingrained in them. So I figured you would have some secret stuff you could throw our way on some food pairings.
Oh yeah, you can do weird stuff with whiskey. Whiskey's kind of a fun one too, because it's not just the whiskey itself. Now you can start making cocktails and completely shift the pairings.
Wow. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So you kind of, we'll keep going through these. What is your favorite bottle that you guys make? Is it the rye or the cast strength, or which one would you, from a Still Austin product?
So just like no one can choose them from their favorite children, I can't choose my favorite. The things that I drink most often are probably, realistically, honestly, the gin is what I drink the most often.
Okay.
It's the lowest proof. Our gin is delicious. It starts off as rye whiskey, then we add a bunch of botanicals to it to create gin. Really can't beat that. The rye that we had previously, the Artist rye, is probably my favorite, quote unquote, of the just norm of our core lineup, because it's just easy drinking. It checks all the boxes. It's got the right proof that you can mix it into a cocktail. It can stand up to fruit juice. It's great, neat, wonderful on the rocks.
Yeah.
Makes a killer highball. So that's kind of my personal favorite, that I'm just going to drink all the time if I would.
Okay, nice. No, yeah, I mean, your rye is delicious, and this cast strength is no less delicious. It's dialed up a couple notches. I really like it.
Yeah, same 116 proof as the cast strength bourbon. Same 100% rye as the Artist. The biggest difference, once again, is that proof, but I think the same thing. You're just getting a lot darker flavors. All of the brightness that we got on that first one with all like the bright citrus and bright floral notes is just denser now. You get a little bit more dark fruit instead of kind of like orange zest. Now it's kind of like flamed orange. That apricot is turned almost into like apricot like turnovers, like apricot pie.
Yeah.
Like I do get a little bit more cherry. That cherry note kind of pops up.
Yep.
And that green tea to me kind of turns to Earl Grey now. Like.
Yep. That's good. Yeah, those are great No, so you nailed it. I couldn't say it any better than that.
So have you guys ever tried to do like a barrel proof, like uncut, unfiltered kind of bourbon, or?
We're literally, so we always are uncut, unfiltered.
Okay, these are all
always,
okay.
Always uncut, unfiltered. Well, okay, we do have a fine wire mesh to make sure there's not chunks of barrel.
Oh yeah,
but that's it. But we, always uncut, unfiltered. Cool. We didn't use that giant high ester rum still to remove all of the esters.
That kind of makes sense.
I never saw it on the label, so I wasn't sure if that's what, unless I
don't think we've ever put that on the label. It's one of the things that I don't know. Like we just never felt the need to talk about filtering. That's like while it's interesting and all of that kind of stuff, we just. Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess we'll have to. I've never actually considered why we don't put non-chill filtered and all that on the label, but that's a good question.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I know some people do look for that on labels, but
I mean, I don't.
If you're
I
one of those
disagree.
people, it's non-chill filtered. We don't chill. We don't do any type of filtering on any of this other than get the barrel out.
I always find chill filtering kind of weird. Like I always felt like the Wild Turkey
rare breed.
Yeah, I think it's just better. Non-chill filtered. I don't know why they chill filter.
If you had the travel exclusive barrel
I've not had the travel exclusive.
Oh man, next time I'll have to bring you if you haven't got it because you have to be out of the country and sometimes you can't even find it. It's been tough for me because I wanted to get a backup bottle because it's so good. It's so much better than the regular rare breed. So rare breed's a great bottle.
Yeah,
I always see the coolest stuff in the duty free when I'm on domestic flights, but if I'm on an international flight, there's never anything in the duty free.
Yeah, or when you're coming back from your international flight because I fly international for work a lot. I'm like, dang it!
I saw someone post in Dubai. Was it Dubai?
Yeah,
and they found like a cellar age, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Oh wow, that's
it's $150, which is nuts. I mean, the best makers ever, but this is not a makers. We're talking about Still Austin. Sure. So cool. All right, I've got it.
Sorry.
Now we're gonna move on to some fun questions. Do you have any nerdy hobbies or anything you want to share?
I've got a plethora of nerdy hobbies. Where do you want to start?
You tell us. You give us a couple of some of your favorite nerdy hobbies.
My biggest one is I love all things audio. So I'm a musician, guitar player, play a little piano.
Nice.
And then I just love kind of like the home studio aspect of it. So like I'm that guy that like if you were to come over to my house and see like my little like audio computer setup, I have a like sound devices mixer and like an 8 input, like field recorder that I use as an audio interface. Like it's nerdy. It's nerdy. Like I love all that kind of stuff.
Getting excited.
Don't judge us on our equipment over here.
I'm trying our best. I'm not like, trust me, I don't like, it's you do what you got to do. And like that stuff is, you want to talk about a rabbit hole, like
for sure, yeah. Dude, our camera setup, because we haven't got camera. Like people are like, why aren't they doing videos yet? Well, I mean, it's very expensive.
There's a reason why I only did audio. Like I met a guy that did video, and we were like a pair made in heaven. It's just like good because I only have the income to support audio equipment. You only have the income to support video equipment. We can pair with our powers combined.
Yeah, we will form Captain Planet. Cool. What other nerdy hobby? That's not musician. That's talent, man. That's not. I mean, I guess it's kind of nerdy. You obviously get really excited about it.
Yeah, I spend more time working out signal chains than I do writing songs. So
okay, that's nerdy.
Absolutely the
nerdy
nerdy side
Super
of it. What else? I don't know. Anything DIY, and I love computers. And
you game any at all?
I tell people I do, but
you just don't have time.
Not really. Yeah, I don't have. And even when I do, like it's just kind of like I don't have the patience. Like when I was a kid, I loved games.
That's how I am. Yeah,
but.
Yeah.
Something happened to me at some point in time. And like now I'm that kind of guy that plays a single player game for like 45 minutes with a cheat engine because I don't have because I just don't have the patience for it anymore.
Games are just so long anymore too. They just make them longer and longer and longer.
It's like, it's like a life. It's not like when you were playing a game anymore where it was like you spend a week. Okay, I beat it. Good. Let's move on to the next game.
Now it's like you got to take a month.
Yeah,
that's a big commitment, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's work got harder or games got harder, but I can't take both seriously anymore. So
I'm the same way catching up on like TV series and stuff. I just feel like I'm so busy between work and doing the podcast and stuff that I'm just like I get behind on TV shows. I don't play games. Like I don't know. I'm pretty boring at home, I guess.
2020 ruined me about how I watch TV and movies.
Oh man,
yeah.
I can't go to the theater anymore, like because now my attention span is too short. Like and I'm also like just not patient with other human beings as much. I guess So that's the weird thing. But I love the cinema too. Actually, you're asking about. I love movies. I love TV, but I don't love the way that I have learned to consume them. So now I need to find a new way to enjoy one of my favorite pastimes.
Yeah,
which is
no, that's
watching movies.
important.
Actually, going to the theater is the only time I can sit and kind of watch. Like if I'm sitting at home, there's so many distractions. Like, oh, I can go grab a whiskey, or oh, my phone's, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you get distracted by everything.
And that's kind of like that's become kind of my family time, like with my daughter and my fiance, which will be my wife here in a couple weeks. But I'm getting married in Mexico, so I'm excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man.
not a great bourbon selection in Mexico.
No,
I
not
believe that.
not at all. Lots of tequila.
Get some Jack Daniels
Who
or
would have
Jim
thought?
Beam.
No, but I'll have to definitely take a nice bottle down and share with the friends. But this can be kind of family. So you kind of skipped ahead, but what's your couple of your favorite movies? We talk a lot about movies and shows on our podcast.
I have a bunch of movie tattoos. So I actually
Yeah.
went to film school. So
Oh,
it's
nice. Awesome.
Yeah,
I
he's a
love,
movie geek.
I'm a huge, that's actually
Nerd.
starting this. I wanted to do a movie podcast. And so anytime anybody wants to talk about movies, I start nerding out hardcore.
Yeah. So real quick, I want to tell Jason this while we're on air. So I was talking to my buddy Brian because he's kind of the one that pushed me into bourbon. I kind of started like it. My former boss's boss, when I worked for a former company, he sent me a bottle of Widow Jane, and it was the first time I was like, "What? This whiskey tastes this good?" And that was an unsophisticated palate or whatever else. So then I was like, I tried Elijah Craig, and that was when they had the 12-year age stated regular offering. I think it was Elijah Craig, or maybe it was a 12-year. I'm not sure exactly 100%. I have to go back and look into that. We saw one today. One of those liquor stores. It was like $300, but
Yeah, you don't see those in stores anymore.
yeah. So he's like, "Oh, I've wanted to do a podcast," and I was like, "Well, why don't we do a podcast? You know a lot about movies. I've been in bourbon. I'm kind of showing in the ropes. He was in like a year or whatever."
Yeah, so
something like that.
November was a year. So I've only been into bourbon for like a year and a half.
Yeah,
wow,
I've been
okay.
like 5 years ish. Depending on when you really want to. I've been drinking bourbon for a while, but and so I literally bought 2 pod mics, and I said, "All right, let's do it." That's how we got started. So kind of crazy though, but
That's awesome though.
yeah.
Yeah, movies are a big part of my coming up. Music, movies.
Yeah.
I just love art. So.
No, yeah, for sure. My middle name's Vincent, so my grandmother named me after Vincent Van Gogh. So
Awesome.
Well,
actually my favorite artist, which is insane.
And they call Austin the Hollywood of the South. So there's a lot of movie stuff that happens around in this area
There's
too.
a lot of production that happens around here. As I
which is
mentioned
exciting.
before, that's how I made kind of like my little side
Yeah.
gig, running around here doing things like that. But yeah, favorite movie though.
Or a couple of your favorite movies.
Yeah, because it's
That's
hard.
the way to
It's
go.
hard.
Yeah, it's
hard-
kind of like what's my favorite children.
whenever he asks me, I'm like, just I'll give you a top 5. That's just how I am.
So I'm just going to name some of my favorite movies. This is in no particular order.
Sure.
And
For sure, yeah.
these might not even be at the top. They're just in some of my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm a big SLC Punk guy. Love that movie. The first one.
I
the
love
sequel's
Matthew Lillard.
Not terrible.
Matthew
Have you
Lillard.
tried his bourbon?
I have not.
The Quest Inn?
I only recently heard about it.
I have a bottle. I wish if I would have known, I would have brought it with me.
Yeah, we're
It's
gonna make a
pretty-
video of that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I have the dragon one. It's pretty cool.
Matt Lillard is fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he is.
agreed.
But I like that movie also because that was Jason Segel's debut too.
Wow, yeah, I forgot he was in the movie.
Yeah, everyone forgets he's in that movie.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, it's
cool.
a great movie.
What else? I really liked. Probably favorite action movie of all time is going to be the first Gladiator.
Oh.
Like Russell Crowe Gladiator. I love that.
That's my favorite movie of all time.
With and people are going to hate this. This is going to be a controversial take, but director's cut of Troy right after that.
Oh yeah,
Director's cut specifically.
Yeah, I like Troy. I thought Troy was fine.
I
It was
like
a good-
Troy
it was a good
too.
movie.
So, but
I mean, Brad Pitt isn't who I would have thought would have played that character, but
Yeah.
he did a good job.
He did fine. Yeah. I think,
Achilles, right?
Yeah.
of course.
And once again, director's cut's where you go because you get like an extra 30 minutes of plot, which
for
make
sure.
everything make a lot more sense.
Yeah, it really does.
You got to watch
I
the
remember.
director's cut of Zack Snyder movies specifically because Zack Snyder's like he's going to make like a 4-hour movie, but it's going to be cut down and it's not going to make as much sense. But yeah, I always said if Zack Snyder was just a cinematographer, he would have had a much better career. But
Oh yes,
but he still made a lot of money. He still made some pretty good movies. So
No, for sure.
And then I got to do my one Austin thing. Anything Richard Linklater did, I love.
Okay.
And before I moved to Austin, I felt
like
that way.
Boyhood.
Like Boyhood's wonderful.
I mean, that movie's
like,
insane. Just the way they filmed it over decades. Like,
I mean, but even some of the bigger ones, like I love, and the smaller ones, like I love Waking Life. Like I like Scanner Darkly. On the bigger side, who doesn't love School of Rock? Like classic.
Yeah.
Like
School of Rock's a great movie.
Dude just crushes it. Like
yeah. No,
he's
good.
a great director for sure.
No, that's cool. That's a good range, I think, too, as well. So I think you also mentioned you like sports as well, right? No, maybe did I misread that?
So, no. You read it right. The problem is that the teams that I like are kind of making me regret liking sports at all right now.
Hey, that's this guy. He was a big Mavericks fan. He's kind of on the fence
So
right
you
now.
and me are from the same thing. I grew up in.
My heart's still broken.
I don't even like talking about it. I grew up in Allen.
Okay,
So
absolutely.
Mavs, Cowboys, Stars.
Stars,
man.
Stars are looking
good job, Stars. You know what? I'm not going to throw you in the bag with the rest of those guys.
Dude, you watched that last game, right? The game. Oh my god,
Dude, Ranson, and he's paying off for what we traded.
So happy,
and we don't even have Miko or Miro and Robo back, and they should be coming back this round, hopefully.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we got one bright spot going on up there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Cowboys are. I'm actually a Denver Broncos fan. It's kind of funny because I'm a Dallas everything else, and then I'm just going for the Thunder right now. They're first professional sports team in Oklahoma, but like I grew up John Elway, my whole family like the Dallas Cowboys, so I was like I'm gonna be different, and I end up becoming a Broncos fan. I try to plant my flag. I don't want to be one of those guys. Now you see everybody wearing Luka Lakers jerseys or whatever, so I try to stay true. I'm hoping there's a rumor. I don't know if you've heard that they're considering hiring Dirk to replace Nico Harrison. If they do that, I'm coming back stronger than ever. But
I feel like that's smoke and mirrors.
I know. I think so.
I mean, he would still have to make some moves to make them a legitimate basketball team. And you got Kyrie's contract up. Like, there's a lot of things that Dallas has to answer this offseason.
Mavs too as well.
They're going to have to. Yeah, the Mavs burned me once. I'm not going back again until they're going to have to roll out a red carpet. Yeah,
no, I'm right there with you, man. It still breaks my heart even talking about it. So friends like to razz me up a little bit. Cool. What do we got up next? Next bottle we're going to try. That one's great.
So we only have 2 left, and both of them are the same mash bill of what we just tried: the Artist Rye and the Cast Strength Rye. The difference is, we've got a bottle and bond version of it. So this is a 4-year-old bottled and bond. And then we have what we call our Nancy's pick. So Nancy once a month picks her favorite barrels of bourbon and favorite barrels of rye from her entire stock. Like I said, we literally taste everything.
Yeah.
So typically if she tastes something that she's like, oh, this is mine, like we set it aside. It's Nancy's because she deserves that.
Yeah.
So, and these are the ones that she releases once a month. So this is the one that just came out. And then we've got the bottle and bond that also just came out. So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to do the Nancy's Pick single barrel first? Do you want to jump into the most recent bottle and bond?
Yeah, let's do the most recent bottle and bond and save the Nancy's Pick for last because I'm assuming that's going to blow our socks off.
Both of these are pretty good.
Yeah, I hear a lot of good things about the bottle. The bottle and bond rye is the only one I haven't tried yet. So, but I hear a lot of good things about it.
The Nancy's Pick either.
But I've tried the Cast Strength Rye and the.
So one thing we pride ourselves here at Still Austin is transparency. I will say that if you're looking to get in on our bottled and bond range, the ones that people sleep on are typically the rye and the bourbon. So if you see the bottled and bond rye, which is with the rabbit, or the bottled and bond horse with the bottled and bond with the horse, which is the bourbon, those are the ones. Just go ahead and get yourself a bottle. That's kind of, if you want to kind of see the best of our bourbon or our rye mash bills, those are definitely going to be kind of the most elevated, highest age of those mash bills you're going to be able to get. So give those a try. If you want to kind of see what we can do with a little bit of time under our belts and a little bit of time in that barrel, get those bottled and bonds.
I get like a cherry dipped in like the lightest chocolate known to man.
Yeah, it does smell. It does smell really similar to the straight rye, except just a little more amped up for sure. Like I get a lot of very similar.
I love
notes.
the nose.
You nailed it. Cherry cordial all day long.
Yeah,
like cherry and chocolate.
God, I love cherry.
God, smells so good. Like
it's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite.
There's some earthiness there too. It's got some kind of like some mushroomy notes, like not like like. Okay. This is going to be a really niche thing, but for anyone familiar with a candy cap mushroom, it's a mushroom that kind of tastes and smells like maple syrup, but it's very much a mushroom. Go out there and find yourself one of those. Like they're fantastic.
I can see that for sure.
But it's got that kind of, like grassy but very sweet kind of mapley thing going on.
Yeah,
like that's one of those things that you're going to have know what I'm talking about to get it. But it's for me, it's really right there on top.
Nice.
And the palate.
Yeah, let's do it. Down the hatch.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh
Yep.
my God.
So what's crazy is, you know how I mentioned before how I felt like I was getting like kind of like fresh orange zest on the artist rye and then almost like a flamed orange. I feel like we're getting almost brighter but sweeter notes. For me, I'm getting almost like lemon curd. I'm getting like tangerine notes in there, like almost a candy tangerine peel, a candy
tangerine,
zest.
mandarin.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like that dark sweet orange, and then there's that tea notes back again. Definitely more Earl Grey than like the green tea. Like, it's almost like that bergamot.
It's real light though. Orange. It's just like you get it more on the back end, almost on the finish. Yeah, but I can definitely, it's there.
For me, I feel the proof on this is what keeps it light. It's actually not so much the palate. It's that high alcohol allows it to kind of like effervesce a little bit on the back of the palate. Gives you, in my opinion, it's a little bit shorter of a finish than what you would find in like the artist rye, which is only 0.4 less alcohol by volume. But that kind of that tannic dryness is kind of what I think would make it, what I do think makes it work really well in cocktails.
Yeah.
When you throw a rock in this, it kind of opens that up and allows that kind of tannic note to kind of add some more nuance to the palate as well.
Yeah.
I really wish we did have a big rock.
Man, I love drinking whiskey with you, dude. Like, I'm really enjoying this.
Sorry about that. Like, I get a little deep sometimes.
No, I'm not being facetious. Like, I really enjoy this, like, just talking through these notes.
You'll pick out, because there's a lot of times where I'm drinking and I can't pick out flavor notes.
Yeah.
And you're just like nailing them. And I'm like, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he should. He's an education director. Sure. But it helps me start pinpointing, because, like, my goal is to, because Austin has a really good whiskey sommelier program. So a friend of one of the groups that we're in that we're hoping to get on the pod, his name's Alex Shaw. Shout out to him. He does a whiskey weight loss program. So he teaches people that you can drink whiskey and still lose weight and be healthy and all that kind of stuff. And he just did the program. He said it's phenomenal. So I'm going to be looking into that. I'd love to do that eventually.
That's actually really cool. I'd love to connect with him.
Yeah, for sure. I can get you.
It sounds familiar. We might have met. So, Alex, if you're listening and we've met, I really apologize, but I got to get a face to the name.
No, I think his program's really, really
English,
popular.
so
I think it's from the Dallas area, right?
Yeah.
So,
I do think we might have met.
Yeah. I'm sure. I can show
Name
you.
sounds crazy
he's a very,
familiar.
very cool guy.
Yeah, really cool guy.
We hung out with him at a drop and just,
the Willet drop, and for someone say whiskey. That was the one they did for. They raised money for, was it suicide?
Suicide prevention.
Suicide prevention, which is something we're very passionate about.
$20 for every bottle of this Willet Purple Top went to.
Yeah, they raised a ton of money for that. Yeah, it was a great cause. So this is outstanding. I'm upset at myself that I have not had it until today, but I'm glad I got to try it. This is so good.
It is on the shelf right now.
And
we see this all, like we see all of these because we go through Total Wines, and Total Wine has well stocked. If you guys are around a Total Wine, these are all going to be available. Like the blue corn and the red corn are obviously going to be, around the times that they release, because those things sell out a lot quicker. But they're all their stuff's on the shelves.
If you find your way coming through Austin, come through. We'll just pour you a taste if you want. So
for sure,
absolutely. You guys saw this is such a cool area. Like you can come down here, drink a beer, come to Still Austin Distilling. Obviously, get you a t-shirt. They got some really cool t-shirts and hats. It's like a whole little community. I'm kind of upset we didn't come down here sooner. We should have come here earlier. The weather was really bad today. We went bourbon hunting a little bit.
Yeah, there was like a tornado warning a little north
tornado
of here.
Up north. Yeah, a couple of them actually.
It was pretty brutal earlier, and now the sun's out and it's like 85 degrees. You never know, but
now it's going to be super clammy and stuff out there. I was we were in San Antonio yesterday, and man, it was raining down there, and it was just so muggy. Like once the closer you get to the ocean, it just gets worse and worse.
Oh yeah.
So curious, what outside of some non-Still Austin products, what are some of your like go-to bottles and recommendations?
So here's the funny thing. Traditionally, I am not a really big bourbon or rye guy. I mean, there's a few ryes out there that I like, but I'm a big Isla Scotch kind of guy. Ooh. So like, if I'm not going to reach for, honestly, and this sounds crazy. I know the company man response, but it's true. My favorite whiskeys, American whiskeys, are our whiskeys.
Okay.
But if I don't reach for an American whiskey, let's say I don't want to grab, anything from America, even my friends, down to like Andalusia that make single malts or something like that, shout out. I probably am going to reach for like a Lafroig 10 cask strength.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Bruichladdich. Clearly I love wine. So big, believe it or not, like white wines. Red wines are all fun and dandy, but I find that white wines typically have the breadth of different flavor options and profiles.
More diversity.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a big fan of like, Sancerre. I really like Vouvray, which is like Chenin Blanc.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Those are probably my favorites. Favorite wine of all time is Domaine Huet. If anyone from Domaine Huet is listening, I doubt it. Because I'm not speaking French, but
no, that's awesome.
Holler at your boy.
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I haven't had that. I'll have to check that out.
Oh yeah, they're like one of the premier houses in Vouvray. They're a demi-sec, a semi-sweet. Life changing. So we were talking about how our rye kind of pairs with kind of whatever you throw at it. This is literally the ultimate wine for pairing with food.
Nice.
It can work with, cheap movie theater nachos all the way up to, a dry age, a 40-day dry age New York strip. It'll work with whatever you throw at it.
Okay.
One of my favorite wines.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
Thank you for the recommendations.
I'm definitely not a wine.
It's not
guy,
easy
so.
to get, and it's not inexpensive.
Sure it's yeah. Note to self.
Yes, but HUET Domaine Huet, Vouvray. Fantastic stuff.
Cool.
So shout out to the wine guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I love wine. I'm hoping to learn more and more about it. I'm a red, unfortunately, and I do like whites, but I think I need to just, like you said, expand my horizon a little bit. There's a lot to offer. I've had some really good Chardonnays.
I mean, bourbon and stuff itself is just overwhelming. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to get into other. Like I try to pick up a bottle of rum or try to pick up a bottle of tequila. We have some wine. Like usually when we travel, I'll pick up some wine or something from. Like when we went to Hot Springs, we got a couple bottles because it's just a cool story. But it's so overwhelming to try to get into too many things. Really,
I totally get that. And with wine, I feel like drink what you like, unless you're trying to make a career in like doing sensory profiles of different wine. There's no need to learn a bunch about it.
Yeah,
I think that's what's fun about bourbon is that while this is going to sound terrible, but bourbon doesn't have like a really wide variety of flavors that it can get to. That's why everyone makes at least a rye or something else.
Or they try to finish it.
Or tries to finish it.
That's
That's why we do all the fun things that we do with bourbon. But I think that if you kind of have that perspective, you can kind of go to rum, tequila, all those different areas where there is this wide variety of flavor profiles you can get from the same kind of spirit. You can bring that back into the specifically bourbon. I don't want to lump rye into this because rye can actually get really weird depending on where it's grown, the type of rye that you're using,
Oh, for sure.
all that kind of stuff. I feel like bourbon, though, we're all kind of trying to do the same thing, kind of stick with that kind of tradition. But I find that that's the fun thing. That's what I love about what Nancy does is using some of those old cognac and Armagnac techniques to create our bourbon. That's what I love about, like a couple of the guys that are, like up there in like Nevada, Utah, New York. There are a lot of fun distilleries that are kind of taking some of these old world methods, like what we're doing here at Still Austin, and trying to take those to be able to make a really cool new world spirit. Going back to, the slow water reduction, I think that is absolutely what sets those white label products apart from everything else that's on the market, is that we're using an old cognac technique to make very new world bourbon, Texas whiskey.
Yeah.
So it's when you kind of get into the nerdy folks like that, actually shout out, who you are, my friends out in like Washington, Oregon, that are also, doing some fun distilling things. They're also kind of doing that same thing. Like, let's look far back into, the annals of distilling and, see the things that, we might not be doing, here in the United States, this is pretty new, making, bourbon is new in the grand scheme of, spirits.
Yeah.
Like doesn't hold a candle to tequila or rum or brandy.
Or,
some of these things are, some of these things are, centuries, if not nearly, a millennium old.
Yeah.
Like some older.
True.
Like, so it's for us in the bourbon community to just be like, oh yeah, we know what we're doing. We're just going to continue to replicate that without kind of looking at different things that we can change, within the laws that allow it to be called bourbon. Like, I think that's the big thing that we find interesting here at Still Austin, and that's the envelope that we want to push.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
Sorry, that was kind of a really long, meandering, point.
No. Hey, that's what this podcast is about. It's for us to have an opportunity to nerd out with people like you that are passionate and love, and you have a unique background because some of the people we've talked, well, it's like Robert too from Iron Root, he went to.
Robert is awesome. What's up, Robert?
Yeah.
I miss you.
Robert's a cool guy. We did an interview with him. I thought, he talked about his history and background and stuff. And, they're very hot cognac and brandy. I think he said his favorite is brandy, one of the brand. He let us try 120 proof brandy. Oh my God. If they release that whenever they're going to release it, I can't wait. So let's dive into this last, and I've got a couple more questions. that I wanted to ask you. Who do you guys consider your biggest competitor in the Texas market?
So I truly believe this. We are part of what's called the Texas Whiskey Association, which is part of the Texas Whiskey Trail. We do not believe, or at least the way I see it, and the way that I've discussed it with my contemporaries, folks like Iron Root, like we were talking about, Andalusia, we're not really competing with each other. It's Texas against the world. There's a lot of negative connotations against Texas whiskey. And that's why I keep telling, I mentioned this early in the podcast, was if you have a negative idea of Texas whiskey, that means you need to drink more Texas whiskey. We are all doing so many different things down here, and just the sheer size of the state and the amount of different kind of microclimates and terroirs that are available here, you can't just kind of pigeonhole one kind of area. I think that is the biggest thing that I would say, sorry, what was the question again? My apologies.
Who's your biggest competitor in the Texas market?
That goes back to it. So I don't think we're competing with one another. I think we're all actually working together to try to kind of defeat that whole, idea that Texas whiskey tastes like, saddle leather or something like that. like it, when a lot of people talk about Texas funk, you won't hear most of us distillers in Texas get together and talk about Texas funk. That's not something that we really... I don't want to say we don't think it's a thing, but we are all kind of approaching that aging process in different ways, so that we're all kind of coming to, different conclusions, making different products that kind of have very, very different profiles. What Still Austin is doing, you're not going to find from the distilleries up in, Denison or Houston or Waco or, any of those other kind of places, and vice versa. Those distilleries aren't going to be doing the things that we're doing here, and I think that has a lot to do with just how big the state is, the different kind of climates we have, and how many different ways there are to kind of deal with those small microclimates that you live in. Yeah. Like the guys at Balcones don't have to deal with the same things we deal with here, and vice versa. Yeah. We're not having to deal with the same problems they run with up there.
No. So. Yeah, no, that's a really good perspective of that. Okay. That's good. That's a very political answer. I like it. But it was good. No.
And that's a good point on bourbon itself is, be a community and stuff. It's like not trying to compete. You guys all want to be successful,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So
we want Texas to be successful.
That's just that's just that sense of a community that bourbon and stuff brings. So
Texas wins, you win, right?
Exactly. Sure. Well, Texas wins, we all win. And we are very much in it together. 20 years ago, we weren't allowed to do any of this down here.
Well, we were talking to the owner of Hochtown in Oklahoma. He's still doing with a lot of stuff there. So we're so far behind in Oklahoma and Texas. We're trying to catch up to the big boys.
Sure. Absolutely. Laws. They have to sell their whiskey to the distributor and buy it back before they can sell it.
Oh, that's wild.
It's insane.
Yeah. He was talking to us because he's read so much legislation and stuff. So he was just like in that mindset. But
yeah, it was great.
He's at the Capitol all the time trying to fight for all these rights and stuff, and doing a lot of stuff in Oklahoma. But I'm just like, man, that's just crazy that all the stuff that's set in place.
They can't. So like their distillery, which is phenomenal. They did a nice tour. If you're ever in Broken Bow, which I think is the nicest part of Oklahoma, beautiful cabins and stuff.
Actually, I have a friend who lives in that area. So
oh, nice.
I'd love to go see him. We can go to that.
Yeah,
maybe.
You should let me know. My aunt and uncle have a really nice cabin up there. They do Airbnb stuff, so I can get you hooked up. But just like they make you an old fashioned. You have to actually, they are not allowed to pour the bourbon into the old fashioned. You have to like pour it in yourself and mix it. Yeah, okay. It's that crazy.
That's some old school blue law stuff.
Yeah, Oklahoma's pretty wild. But Blue's been fighting, and I think hopefully he fights a good fight for anyone in the future, because I think it would be cool for Oklahoma to have a little bit more going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yep. So when I smelled this, I felt like I fell into a nice warm apple cinnamon pie. So.
I think you nailed. So I'm not going to spout off my notes for this. Let's see if we agree with Nancy's notes.
All right.
So once again, this is the Nancy's pick. This is the same 100% rye. We're looking at a barrel that's got a little bit of age on it. So this went into the barrel on August 9th, 2021, and was the 9th barrel off of the still that day. And we took it out on June 26th, 2025. So it was just short of its 4th birthday, it looks like. 120.13 proof.
Hello.
This never saw even a whiff of slow water reduction. Same 100% rye like we talked about. Nancy's notes are on the nose: warm Texas toast with apple butter.
Okay.
Salted caramel ice cream. Black Forest cake. Oh, I totally get that.
Yeah. I was like, there's some kind of cocoa, dark chocolate, something I was getting that.
She says it's also that cake is brimming with cherry filling.
I definitely get the cherry.
Yeah,
for sure.
So on the palate, she says, let's see, apple cinnamon crumble cake, oatmeal raisin cookies, and Italian panforte.
Okay. I get the like oatmeal-ish kind of, I didn't really get an oatmeal cookie, but I got the like, kind of like a no-bake
some kind of
oatmeal cookie.
vanilla.
I totally get like the almost too sweet oatmeal raisin cookie.
Yeah.
Like, think about the oatmeal raisin cookie you get at Starbucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't like those. I love oatmeal cookies, but for some reason I don't like the ones at Starbucks. But yeah, no, okay, I can see
But
it.
it's kind of that. You get that really sweet kind of grain note on the back.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting that cinnamon. Like the apple to me is almost separate from the cinnamon. It's almost like I'm getting like a cinnamon pastry crust, and then almost like this
apple
this apple
turnover
butter,
or
apple
something.
turnover.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then the finish, blackberry, blueberry, raspberry fruit tart. So like wild berry fruit tart.
McDonald's like 10 years ago, they had that. I don't know if they still have the apple turnovers. I don't eat McDonald's if I can afford it.
If McDonald's doesn't have the apple turnover still, I'm going to boycott.
That was one of the best things they ever had. Turnovers, did they?
No, they had it in the little red box. Yeah.
So that's what it reminded me of. Like,
I know they always had apple pies.
And I used to eat those all the time, like 10 years ago or whatever. I know they're unhealthy, but that's what it reminded. Like, it took me back to that apple turnover because they did like a little cinnamon
it's got
sprinkle on that. So, but it was almost like separate because when you bit into the apple turnover at McDonald's, you got cinnamon, you got the crust, and then you would get the apple.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's like the crust and the apple sat separately,
separated
but they worked together.
Yeah, they work together. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
They might have stopped doing that because Arby's does the turnovers too. Because I don't know. But I was always a cherry pie guy. I loved the cherry pies from McDonald's. I'm really upset that they don't make them anymore. I feel like they almost tried to go like healthier.
Are you trying to tell me they don't have a pie at McDonald's anymore?
They have apple pie.
Okay.
But it's like it's different. It's like it's completely different.
Yeah,
from
it's not the same as it used to be.
Oh,
it's like,
I see what you're saying.
It's like
that's
more,
why I was like saying like 10 years ago because that's the last time I remember.
It's like
we're talking about like the
open.
little triangle turnovers, like actual turnovers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What do they have now?
He's talking about
they have apple pies.
They have like little like these little things that slide into the little cardboard things. Turnovers, apple pie. I don't know what they're
All right,
called.
sorry to get into the fast food dessert conversation.
No, that's fine. No, that's a good conversation. Do you have any other questions?
Well, we kind of talked about it a little earlier. I don't know. We were talking. I usually will ask like kind of what we're doing, what you guys are doing in the future. You kind of talked about that already. So, I don't know. Just if you had any advice for anyone who's getting into bourbon and maybe wanting to look into your stuff. Like, I know we kind of went into a little bit, but just anyone who's trying to get into bourbon, like what should they go for?
If you're kind of just trying to get into bourbon, or even more specifically, just trying to get into Texas bourbon, definitely start with our musician bourbon. I would say, kind of like we mentioned before, maybe pick your favorite Kentucky bourbon or something like that, something that you're used to, and maybe enjoy, responsibly, of course, enjoy your first cocktail with your favorite one.
Yeah.
And maybe try the Still Austin with your second cocktail of the evening. I think that'll be a really great way to kind of understand the differences you can expect from our product versus, which isn't going to be anything remarkable by any means, but definitely probably the proof will be the big one, moving from, what's typically between like 80 and 90 proof to much closer to 100 proof. I think that's probably the best way to go. Our musician bourbon is a crowd pleaser. It is an easy win. If you're already into bourbon and you're just trying to get into Texas bourbon specifically, just graduate to the cask strength, bourbon or rye. I think you're going to be really, really happy with either one, even if you particularly aren't normally into rye. I think these guys will kind of agree. Our rye whiskey is very, very different from what you would expect from another cask strength.
It's very good.
Yeah, it is, and it's not like the traditional rye is what I would personally say. Like I get a cherry, sweeter note, lighter. It's not that spearmint, that gum that stays in your mouth aftertaste, and I really enjoy it.
Like
very fruity for sure.
Yeah,
very fruity. Oh yeah. I mean, it definitely has some heft to it. It's definitely it's got some spiky. I don't want to say spiky edges, but it has some edge to it. It's got a little bit of death metal in it. Like, what I mean?
but it's subtle. Like it's like boom, I'm here and I'm good, and you're gonna enjoy this, and let me take you down another road.
Yeah. It's the kind of rye that'll also take you to the coffee shop shop after the metal show, you know, like, and, you know, like
buy you breakfast in the morning.
yeah, buy you breakfast, you know, like not any breakfast. I'll get you the good breakfast tacos,
absolutely.
you know, maybe even biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
But no, the cast strength rye, seriously though, the cast strength rye is much softer than what you would expect a rye at 116 proof to be. Lots more fruit, lots more floral notes, leaving the spice kind of as a secondary thing to add structure instead of being kind of the main part of the show.
Yeah.
And I guess one more thing, anyone who's coming to visit Austin, do you have any good recommendations for anyone to check out? You know,
there's this cool little distillery called Still Austin. No, I'm just no, seriously
Absolutely.
though.
oh man, I'll have to go check that out.
Seriously though, I will give you some suggestions though. But if you are wanting to come to the distillery, we do a lot of fun things. We have live music here. Check our website and our calendar. We just premiered the Antone stage at Still Austin, so we can get some really great acts coming out here. Then, of course, we have our own live music, like usually weekly here as well. All kinds of fun events, little putt-putt golf stuff set up there. Here in the area around us, within like maybe 10, 15 minutes, you've got La Barbecue for some great barbecue. You've got, of course, our friends next door at St. Elmo if you're looking for a good beer.
Yeah,
and then
very
Vacancy
good.
on the opposite side of the parking lot. If you're into fancy food, shout out to my friends over at the Hestia Group. Immer and Rye over on Rainey Street or Hestia in downtown are both really great spots if you want a really like nice high-end meal.
Okay.
And for folks like me who enjoy slumming it, you got to stop by your local Austin P. Terry's for a good hamburger. That's not a huge shout out, but man, if you don't know what P. Terry's is, you need to get down here and enjoy some P. Terry's while you're enjoying some Still Austin.
Awesome.
Wow.
Sounds good.
Also, I want to shout out we just got a new food truck here. If you're into pizza, we have a wonderful Neapolitan style pizza food truck right here on our premises now too. That does some really good stuff. Sells by the slice or by the pound.
I absolutely love pizza. I try pizza when I travel all over the world. I try to find where the best pizza is. I've had great pizza in almost everywhere I've ever gone. So yeah.
Well, Google Storado. That's the little pizza shop that we have right here now.
Excellent.
We're really happy to have.
We'll
it
have
too.
to come back for sure. This is hopefully not our last Still Austin journey. We have to come back and hang out a little bit more, but definitely want to thank you for allowing us to come today, your time. I've really enjoyed this, like nerding out, talking about all the tasting notes. You let us try an amazing amount of whiskeys. I think my favorite, I'm probably leans to the cast strength rye, but obviously taking out that Nancy's Pig because I think that's cheating. I think that's probably by far the best, but I think it's probably my favorite. But
This is really going to be weird, but I actually really enjoyed the artist. I think the tasting notes.
That was really good.
I think the tasting notes for that I liked a little more than the other ones, but all the ryes were fantastic. Like everything we had was fantastic.
yeah, to me, it's like cast strength was just like the artist, but like the artist that like is drinking like a 12-point IPA.
But the thing is, I love that tart, like that tart fruit kind of, and I feel like I get that more in the artist, and I just
that's fair.
Just that flavor just hits me. I don't know, but all these were fantastic.
I'm happy that those were your two favorites because the ryes are the ones that I'm really trying to kind of like open people's eyes to. We make a killer bourbon. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
The red corn, blue corn, the regular white corn
yeah,
like
I
we
love
tried
that red
here.
corn.
The rye that we do is something really fun, really interesting, and you're not going to find a lot of products like it. I think there's maybe only one or two other 100% unmalted ryes out on the market right now. Like, so it's kind of its own thing already there.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
It's just something really fun for if you're like me and you kind of are really nerdy about stuff and you like trying things that are just
Yeah.
kind of unorthodox or different. This is unorthodox. This is different, but it's not so far outside that box that you can't enjoy it the way you would enjoy any other whiskey.
I enjoyed. I mean, it's delicious. Yeah, so I'm not shocked that you like that one, but yeah, these were great. I liked all of them. You guys are doing some great stuff. Shout out to Still Austin. I can't wait to see what else you guys have coming out. I can't wait to score a Tanager this year and get my beloved red corn. And that's going to be a year older, and it'll probably go back on my top 5 non-allocated bottles. So, but yeah, you guys are doing awesome. You should be proud. I love the energy and the passion and the continuous pursuit to make damn good whiskey. So,
Appreciate you, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
make cool shit. That's what we want to do.
I love it. Make cool
You didn't put that on a bumper sticker.
Yeah. I want a t-shirt when I come back. It says Still Austin, make cool quote by Jason here. All right, I'm gonna give you the final word. Anything else? Any last thoughts?
Just once again, I want to invite everyone down here to come see us. I think to really understand what it is we're doing, you really need to come down to the distillery, do a tour, come see that giant still that we were talking about, come meet our staff. when I would say that, yeah, we're doing some fun stuff with grain. We've got some fun mash bills, all that kind of stuff. It's the people that make what we're doing here really great. And the best way to kind of meet and see some of those people is to come down here to the distillery and kind of see what we got going on. So I would happily invite all of you down here to come see me. I work out of here most of the time. Ask for Jason. I'll run out of my office, come say hi to you, maybe even buy you a drink if you're nice to me.
You heard it first. Come down and get a free drink from Jason.
If you're nice.
Yeah, if you're really, really nice. So awesome. Again, thank you, man. Appreciate
We
it.
appreciate you
All
having
right.
us out here.
Pleasure's all mine, guys. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, man. I'm Cody.
I'm Garrett.
And we are the Bourbon Nerds. Thank you guys for tuning in.
The Bourbon Nerds podcast is hosted and executive produced by Cody Mills and Garrett Welch. The show is produced, mixed, and edited by me, Ethan Adams. The show features original music by Alex Pitts. You can find the Bourbon Nerds on all the major social media platforms. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Please don't hesitate to send an email or message on social media. We love to hear your thoughts, comments, and bourbon suggestions. The Bourbon Nerds would like to remind the audience to always drink responsibly, know your limits, and never drink and drive. Be sure to check in every Sunday for a brand new episode. Cheers!